Welcome to All Things Financial with Jack Driscoll. Each week, Jack takes on all things you thought were hard to understand about your finances and makes it fun, easy, but most of all interesting. From insurance to the best way to save your money and squeeze the most out of the dollars you put aside for your rainy day. And now, you have a friend in the money business. Here's your host, Jack Driscoll.
Welcome back again, everyone, to another edition of All Things Financial. We're doing a show on a series, actually, on financial planning for college. And that, as I've discussed on the last couple shows, deals with everything from beginning as grandparents setting up funds for grandchildren instead of Christmas presents to financial aid packages and FAFSA and doing all the applications through the government and scholarship programs. I wanted to talk to you today, before we get back into some of the technicalities. I realized, and from some of the questions I got from last week's show, how technical it can get. Because last week what I talked about, as you know, was a lot about the tax programs and tax credits and benefits to some of these grants and programs that are available, but also that you could deduct student loan interest, which I didn't get into much last week, but if you qualify financially, and some of the tax credit programs. So what I thought I'd do today was back up a little bit. And I want you to reconsider in the whole process of financial planning where college planning and college financial planning fits into your lives. So what I wanted to talk to you about today and get you to just see as an overview is, how much do you want to go into debt on college? Because either you or your students, if you're the parent, or your students are taking on maybe a lifelong or seemingly lifelong debt burden before they get out of the chute. And they graduate from college and graduate from high school first off and go into this quagmire of college financial debt burden, which is alluded to as financial aid. And then when they get out, if jobs aren't available. So I want to back up. There are some people and families that I see being highly successful at planning really their students' future. And some of you students out there realizing you can plan your future. Well, you know, here I am versus when I was 18 years old. It's hard when you're 18 years old to have any clue what you're going to do. And for almost everyone, whatever you would have chosen at 16 or 18 isn't what the person's doing when they're 25 or 30 anyway. So the best laid plans go awry. Well, that leads right into this topic today of this overview, financial planning for college. Because here we are making lifelong commitments and decisions at age 18, when many times by the time we're 25, we're not actually in the field that we originally chose and maybe have all this debt burden accumulated for that we have to repay, and our lives have changed a little bit. So we're stuck with a debt without the ability to repay. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get everyone to back up today and just evaluate an overview of life planning. Now, what I do in the practice frequently is dealing with people age 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, all doing the same process. They're out in the workforce. They're either single or married. They're looking to improve their lives and plan their futures financially. And I usually tell them what I help people do in many cases is help build a life plan first with life goals and dreams, and then build financial planning to help, to the best of our ability, accomplish those life goals and dreams. So we're doing life planning first and then financial planning to help achieve those life plans. Well, we don't do that back in college planning. what we seem to do in college planning is either look at aptitude tests or whatever the student says they want to go in and major in. And I don't think enough attention is placed on the student. Hey, what do you want to do? Well, let's choose this major. Let's just choose liberal arts, or let's just choose business or some generic, and we'll figure it out along the way, which there's probably nothing wrong with, unless we're making a huge financial commitment toward a direction with no purpose. So my first suggestion is we do financial planning for college when? Not in high school, not in junior high school. We do financial planning for college when the children are born. And we have no clue what's going to happen in that child's life or in our lives as parents. But remember, as parents and grandparents, what we want to do, I think, is build the financial resources, the pot of money being there so that the student isn't saddled so much. And I did this a couple shows ago. You can go back and look on YouTube on a couple shows ago. I did the calculations for you, sample calculations on if you save up in advance versus if you borrow and have to pay back later. So what I suggest is this. Rather than creating the nightmare that I see so often when children, 2 or 3 at a time, are all in college, saddling both their future and their parents' present financial situation. Parents are taking loans out against already paid off free and clear homes, taking out Parent Plus loans. I see many parents going into retirement with college loans on behalf of their children. That, folks, is a symptom of lack of planning. It's not bad planning, but many times it's lack of planning. Lack of planning that college costs so much. Where we were preaching 20 years ago, hey, watch out with college inflation costs. It could cost over $100,000 for your student to go to school. And, you know, people would say, oh, well, then I'll just not be able to afford that at all. That's ridiculous. But then when the time comes and we have 2 or 3 kids all in school, the parents and sometimes grandparents have no choice but to help out. And where do they get the money? Well, they're going to get it wherever they can. And that means they're borrowing it from what? Their retirement plans, their 401ks, their IRAs, their home equity, their current assets, delaying retirement goals or hampering retirement goals. A dollar can only be spent in one way. So if it was intended for retirement purposes and the best laid retirement plan now gets upended because of these unexpected college costs, these costs weren't unexpected, but they many times were unplanned for. So I say go back to the beginning. When you get out of high school, and I talk to all you college students now, when you get out of college, you're saddled with some debt that our generation was not necessarily saddled with because college costs weren't as high. The problem is, what I want you to do is plan when you're out of college, and for every young family that has new children or children being expected now, I want you to talk to your parents. You are going to be the parents, but I want you to talk to your parents and try to establish, hey, let's set up a college fund now. Let's project in 18 years, we might have 2 or 3 kids, what college costs might be, and let's focus and funnel all of our resources that you want to spend, Grandma and Grandpa, on Christmas, and you want to spend on this. Can we maybe try to formulate a plan so that we have the resources, the financial resources set aside and built up over 18 long years, where it's well-placed money with interest helping accomplish a lot of the goal for you. You plant the seed money, but growth over 18 years actually creates the majority of the money. And that creates financial freedom in many cases for those kids being able to go to school. If they get scholarships and grants, all the better. But what you're trying to do is create financial freedom where you'll blow the money anyway over that 18 years on other things, cars, whatever it is. Maybe it's Christmas gifts. Maybe it's where you can better direct money to create financial freedom for yourselves later on, not saddled with this huge college debt, both students and parents. So that's why I'm backing up today. No technical talk today. This is generalization, how to make sure not to go broke when you want to put your kids through college. It means starting early. You don't have to wait till children are born to do this. If you're a young student, just graduated from high school or college, high school in a trade school, let's say, and now you're out in the trades, you have goals for your life. I'm speaking to all you students now who maybe haven't even graduated. You have goals. You want to get married. You want to have children. You want to have a good job. You want to travel. You have goals. So just because the children haven't arrived yet and the spouse hasn't arrived yet and you haven't bought your first house does not mean now that you begin having income to not start setting aside, instead of spending all of your income buying cars and a high rent or whatever because you can, set aside now towards some of those future goals that you have, where you're starting to live on only half of what you make. You're single. Live on only half of what you make. It's not as much fun now, but it's a whole lot more fun later. So you balance it. You can have fun now and fun later by maybe living on half of what you're making when you graduate. And once you then get a house, get married, have kids, now you start living on the other half. But in the meantime, you've planted great seed money toward your and your family's future. Your future family that hasn't even been created by you yet, their future. So you set aside money, you begin learning how to invest. You learn through financial planners, you say, where do I put money now to help make it grow for the future? And how does this work? And what risk is involved? And now's a great time to talk about risk. A lot of people might say, well, isn't that risky? Well, isn't what risky? And I'll ask, what? Setting money aside and losing it versus not setting it aside at all and spending it? So what you do is you back up and you say, wait a minute. How do I set aside money? And by not setting aside money may be the most risky thing of all. So you want to balance all of your risks. You want to balance the risks of setting aside money and putting it in the wrong places versus not setting aside money and wishing later you had it set aside and working for you. So you have all of those considerations as a young person, and they're easy decisions because they're so far in the future. They give you room to make mistakes and still recover. So right when you get out of school, high school, wherever you are, you're working at anywhere, Starbucks or whatever, if they have a 401k plan, if they have a savings plan, not only get enrolled, but get enrolled to the max. Set aside the maximum allowable. If they have a Roth 401k option, get to a financial planner like myself. Give us a call. I'll help you make some initial decisions or at least give you initial information that can help you make better decisions. We can't actually help, and no financial planner can actually help give advice without knowing pretty much all about you, but we can give general information that might help empower you to make better decisions. But the first thing is maximize savings programs. Live on only half of what you make. Set aside the rest. Learn the different options of where to put money, whether you put money aside in a 401k, traditional 401k, a Roth 401k, an IRA, or regular accounts, not any retirement type account. Depends on what your specific circumstances are in your specific situation. You might still be living at home. I'm going to tell you to bank almost all of your pay, and you're going to not do it. You're going to not listen to me, and I know that, but you could still carve out some spending money and still build a huge amount of money set aside for a down payment on a house, because you're not spending all your money since they're your first paychecks you've ever had. And that's for those of you who haven't gone to college and created that huge burden, the financial debt. For those of you who have gone to college and come out of college with a huge financial debt, I know sometimes you'll go back, live at home to reduce the expenses until you find a good job. And while you're doing that, or even after you have a job, but you see once you start getting a job, those loan payments, repayments, the student loan gets re-triggered. And now payments begin. Well, you might want to try to smooth that out, obviously, not incur the debt of a new car, new apartment, all the new expenses, and eat into your whole pay. You get into a situation where you say, I might want to move back home for a year or two, set aside some money, knock off these student loans. See if I could double up, triple up, quadruple up on those payments and shortcut that loan. Try to chop that up from maybe a 15 or 20 year schedule, maybe get rid of that thing in 3 to 5 years by putting all of your initial pay while you're living at home to get rid of that student debt, and now then start your financial life, your future life. So all doors are open to you. All choices are open to you if you make them. And that's why I wanted to kind of just take today, get away from the technical, realize life planning is probably the biggest part of financial planning that's neglected or avoided. And most people just go through life, do what seems to be the obvious, which is we go to school, we go to college, we incur all this debt, we have to do it, there's no other way, people tell me. Then you get out of school, your parents are in debt, and you're in debt. You may be in a different major than you started with, and you may not be able to find a job in the area that of your chosen field. So now you don't have the financial resources to repay, but you have started work, so loan repayments occur. Then what I find is somebody gets married. We have to file in many cases, married filing separate. Married filing separately means we don't want our loan payments tripled because they evaluate by our tax return at what rate our loans need repaid. We say, what? Yeah, and I've seen the case on tax returns many times. The two people that are married, because they have to do married filing separately, might be paying $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 more in taxes because they can't combine their tax returns married filing jointly as otherwise they would. Why? They're shackled by these student loans that the loan repayment would be $800 a month as opposed to $200 a month if they showed combined income. So there are a lot of ramifications. I said I wasn't going to get technical, and I just did get a little technical. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. In today's show, we need to back up and say, what are the problems that people graduating from college have, and how can we avoid them? We do the exact same thing in retirement planning. But there's so much attention on retirement planning. Most financial planners and financial advisors, which are two different things, by the way, focus all on retirement. Why? That's where all the money is. But we get to this area of college financial planning, and it's almost totally neglected. But it creates a lot of problems for retirement planning. So we need to address this. When we get to this situation where this is the key question for today's show, what are all the problems other people that have gone and graduated from college are now experiencing, and how can we avoid them? If you use that rule, parents and grandparents, when you either have no children or have newborns or have 10-year-olds or have kids just graduating from high school or ready to graduate from high school, please ask those questions. Some of the problems. Number one, they didn't choose their major. Number two, they didn't choose their major correctly. Number 3, they didn't research their majors while they were still in 9th grade, 10th grade. Which majors don't pay any money? Which majors don't have any job opportunities? Which majors do? So you'll see somebody who's very good at math, and they say, I want to do something in the math field. That's not good enough. What you want to do, if you want to help your students, are get out to companies in the area. They'd love to share information. You know, people that have worked for a long time, if there's somebody that thinks they want to do financial planning, I would love to speak to them. I have 40 years experience that I could share. I'm past president of the Financial Planning Association and Society of Financial Service Professionals in Pittsburgh. I know a lot of people that I could share information. It's the same in every field. Whether they want to be an engineer, a math major, communications major, it doesn't matter. Get those students, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, out. Where are the areas? Not where you make the most money. You want your students in the areas where they will be happiest, doing what they want to do all day long. But you'll find in most fields, you can have the degree and you just missed the specialty, and you've got a student who's, while they're in math, is an engineer where they would have been much better as an actuary. And an actuary might make $130,000 a year, and an engineer might make $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year. And the actuary might be doing exactly the finite mathematical types of applications your student really wanted to do. And the engineering, they may say, no, that wasn't the exact area. I wish I could do it over again. Well, hey, listen, you don't wait till they're in their jobs and their education's over and now they're stuck with that and going back to school to try to get a master's to retune that. Start in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. Program that. Again, what's my key question for today? Ask yourself, what people have gone before us, what mistakes have students and graduates and parents made that have gone before us with college planning that they would like to avoid, that we could also avoid now, and learn in advance what mistakes have been made by those who have gone before you and avoid them. All right, folks, we're out of time. I tried to stay not technical. I hope this helps. I want you to get out to all the companies in the area. I want you to get your students out on field trips, get them meeting with corporate executives, scientists, biologists, the medical field. Get them knowing the career choices that are available starting 9th grade, not 12th grade. Get them out in the workforce that by the time they get to 12th grade or way before, they know exactly what they think they want to do with their career. Then you've helped your family, and that didn't have anything to do with financial planning. That has to do with life planning. They're both closely interwoven. All right, folks, sorry we're out of time. Again, I appreciate your tuning in. I'll be back again next week with another edition of All Things Financial.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Inc., member FINRA SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Insurance services offered through Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services Inc., which is not affiliated with SagePoint Financial Inc.